Cartoon Network took Scooby-Doo, added cosmic horror, on-screen deaths, Lovecraftian entities, and a story arc about a cursed town built on human suffering. Then they canceled it after 2 seasons and replaced it with a comedy. Nobody has ever explained why. Today, we're going through the evidence. Not speculation, real stuff you've just never seen. Scooby-Doo Mystery Incorporated premiered on Cartoon Network in 2010. It was pitched as the reimagining of the classic Scooby-Doo formula. What it actually was? A serialized horror show wearing a Scooby-Doo mask. This was not Scooby-Doo. The monsters were not people in costumes. Well, some were, but the overarching mythology involved a real ancient evil entity buried beneath the town. Characters died. On screen. In a Scooby-Doo show. The series ran for 52 episodes across 2 seasons, and then Cartoon Network canceled it. No 3rd season. No official explanation beyond low ratings, which, as we will see, is not accurate. What most people do not realize is that Mystery Incorporated was in pre-production for a 3rd season. The showrunners had a plan. Cartoon Network killed it. The question is why, and the evidence points to one answer. Let's move. Mystery Incorporated was marketed as a kids' show. It was built on a Lovecraftian mythos. The central antagonist of the series is the Nibiru Entity, an ancient evil cosmic being imprisoned beneath Crystal Cove. It has been there for centuries. Its presence corrupts the town. It drives people to madness. It manipulates history. And it feeds. The show does not hide this. H.P. Hatecraft is a literal character. He is a horror author living in Crystal Cove. The show directly references Lovecraft by name. The planispheric disc, the artifact the entire series revolves around, is essentially a cursed object driving everyone who touches it toward obsession and destruction. This is cosmic horror in a Scooby-Doo show. Someone approved this. Someone pitched this to Cartoon Network and an executive said yes. Things get even crazier when you realize the scope. The Nibiru Entity is not a late season twist. It is seeded from episode 1. The entire series, all 52 episodes, is building toward the reveal that an ancient evil has been manipulating every mystery, every villain, every event in Crystal Cove's history. This is not Scooby-Doo. This is a horror epic. Characters die in Mystery Incorporated. Not implied deaths. Not they fell off of a cliff and we never saw them again deaths. On screen, documented, in a Scooby-Doo show. Marcy, also known as Hot Dog Water, is a recurring character. She starts as a villain, gets rehabilitated, becomes an ally. In the final episodes, she stays behind to hold off Professor Pericles and his forces so the gang can escape. As the gang runs, we hear gunshots. Multiple. The gang stops. They look back. They look sad. And then they keep running. That is an execution in a children's cartoon based on a franchise about a talking dog solving mysteries. Professor Pericles, the show's secondary antagonist, meets a worse fate. He allows the Nibiru Entity to use his body as a vessel. The entity consumes him. He is destroyed from within. This is not a villain being defeated. This is a character being annihilated by a cosmic force he thought he could control. Danny Darrow, a member of the original Mystery Incorporated, went insane decades ago after being trapped in a flooded mansion for years. When the gang finds him, he is elderly, broken, and deranged. He ultimately dies when the mansion collapses. The original Mystery Incorporated, the group that came before Scooby's gang, was destroyed. They were driven apart by the curse of the planispheric disc. Some went mad. Some disappeared. Some died. This is the backstory of a Scooby-Doo show. Someone sat in a meeting and made the determination that this was appropriate for the Scooby-Doo audience. Professionally. The cosmic horror and the deaths are the obvious red flags. The psychological horror is worse because it is sustained. Fred Jones Jr. grows up believing Mayor Fred Jones Sr. is his father. He is not. Mayor Jones kidnapped Fred as a baby. His real parents, Brad Childs and Judy Reeves, members of the original Mystery Incorporated, were driven out of town by Jones, who took their child to maintain control of the Mystery legacy. Fred discovers this in Season 1. His entire identity collapses. This is not played for comedy. This is played for genuine psychological devastation. A teenager discovers his father is a kidnapper, his real parents abandoned him, and his entire life has been a lie. In a Scooby-Doo show. Then, there is Velma. Mystery Incorporated rewrites Velma as morally ambiguous. She's not just the smart one, she's manipulative. She drugs Shaggy. Not metaphorically, she literally gives him something to make him forget, to keep him from revealing a secret. She is cruel to her friends. She makes decisions that harm the group. This is not the Velma from Where Are You? This is a damaged teenager making bad choices under pressure. And then there is what happens to Shaggy and Scooby. They are sent to military school. This is not a joke. It is played for genuine distress. Two characters, one of whom is a talking dog, are removed from their home and placed in an institutional setting against their will. The show frames this as traumatic. What most people do not realize is that every member of the gang is systematically broken down across 2 seasons. Fred loses his identity. Velma compromises her morality. Shaggy and Scooby are institutionalized. Daphne is manipulated by her own family. The show does not let up. It is a sustained psychological dismantling of characters children grew up loving. Here is where the case turns from content to conduct. Mystery Incorporated aired on Cartoon Network from 2010 to 2013. The scheduling was bizarre. Episodes aired out of order in certain markets. There were long, unexplained gaps between episodes, sometimes months. The show was moved to different time slots repeatedly. By Season 2, it had been pushed to a graveyard slot in several regions. This is not how you treat a show with good ratings. This is how you bury a show. Things get even crazier when you look at what replaced it. Cartoon Network canceled Mystery Incorporated and greenlight Be Cool Scooby-Doo, a lighter episodic comedy with no serialization, no darkness, no continuity. It was critically panned. It lasted 2 seasons. The message was clear. Cartoon Network did not want dark. They did not want serialized. They did not want smart. They wanted Scooby-Doo to be Scooby-Doo again. Simple, episodic, marketable to young children. Mystery Incorporated was too dangerous to the brand. Cartoon Network never gave an official reasoning for the cancellation beyond the standard line, but the evidence does not support low ratings. Boomerang UK's uploads of Mystery Incorporated episodes pull hundreds of thousands of views. Individual episodes have 889,000, 680,000, and 297,000 views. The audience was there. The demand was there. The show was not failing. It was being contained. The showrunners, Tony Cervone and Mitch Watson, had a plan for Season 3. Pre-production was underway. The team was interested in continuing. Cartoon Network decided not to renew. No public explanation. No creative differences cited. Just silence. I'm not gonna lie, when you assemble the evidence, the pattern is clear. Mystery Incorporated was too dark, too serialized, too smart for the network's business model. It did not fit Cartoon Network's repositioning toward lighter, more episodic, more syndication-friendly content. The show was a critical success with a dedicated audience, and it was killed because it did not fit the brand. The final episode was rushed. The creators knew cancellation was coming. The timeline reset in the finale, where the Nibiru Entity is destroyed and all of history is rewritten so the corruption never happened, was a compromise. The show's original vision was darker. What we got was a creator racing to finish a story before the plug was pulled. That's the record. The verdict? Scooby-Doo Mystery Incorporated was a horror show disguised as a children's cartoon. It featured cosmic horror, on-screen deaths, psychological dismantling of beloved characters, and a serialized mythology that treated its audience with intelligence. Cartoon Network buried it. They erraticized the schedule. They moved the time slots. They canceled it without explanation. And they replaced it with something nobody asked for. The show was too dark to survive. Not too dark for audiences. Too dark for the network. Someone made this, it was animated, it was storyboarded, and someone else decided, no, we don't want this. Gone. Was Mystery Incorporated too dark, or was Cartoon Network too scared? Which case sealed it for you? Drop it in the comments, hit subscribe.